Hello, everyone. I'm Gemma Starr, and welcome to another episode of Heart Warriors. Heart Warriors is a series I've been guided and inspired to do thanks to my energetic connection with Kata Judah being our beautiful sacred masculine site in Central Australia, very close to Uluru, our sacred feminine site. What I'm here to do is to give a platform to our men so they can speak man to man with the men watching, sharing their journey into the heart, their experiences, their highs, their lows. What tools, practices, wisdom, insights, knowledge can they now share with other men on the healing journey into the heart and spiraling on up? Today's guest is a man from Perth, Australia, and his name is Cambell Purvis. Now, Cambell has spent the last 30 years researching the history, the mind, and the puzzle of life. And he's right into Tartaria, mud floods, restoring our distorted history. So very much into all that side of things. But I know he's also a man of the heart. So very interested to hear about his journey and what he can now share with us all. Okay, enjoy. Hello, Cambell. Welcome to Heart Warriors.
Hello, thank you for having me, Gemma. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Well, Cambell's from Perth, and very honoured to have him here. And I'm going to start off, as I always do, by asking you, if you were to drop all your labels, who's the man inside?
Geez, nice question. Who's the man inside? I think the man inside is just someone who's just trying to create something better, something that sort of benefits himself and others, trying to spread knowledge or information, I guess. We've got to be careful of these labels, don't want to be a guru. But yeah, I think I'm just here to basically the way I see it is I just want people to ask a different question. So I think I'm here to just, I don't know, get people to think, give them a different perspective to look at the world through. That's really what, there's all these, different videos and work and everything, but in essence, that's really all it is. I figure if I can get someone to ask a different question, they'll have a different thought, and a different thought, you'll take a different action. You take a different action, you get a different result. So yeah, that's probably it. How's that?
Wonderful, thank you. So let's find out how you got to be who you are today. Let's go back to little Cambell. What was his greatest challenge growing up?
Challenge? Oh my gosh, it was figuring out the world. Literally, I sort of say that, I was into Confucianism when I was young. The world was very confusing. Literally, my first thought was, where am I? What have you done? I'm in the wrong spot. Come back and get me. These people are crazy. Like, that was literally the first thought I can remember. So I was kind of, I'm one of these people who was, kind of always awake, I guess. Nothing's ever made sense to me as far as the world. The big thing when I think about it is, people just, I never understood lying. I never understood why people would pretend to be something that they weren't, or why they would say something that wasn't true, and that really confused me as a child. So that's kind of where it started. And then I went to 7 schools and lived in 10 houses by the time I was 16. So I was sort of moved around a lot, which was kind of good because I missed the whole education thing. I wasn't so indoctrinated because it kept getting chopped and changed. But obviously, I was always the new kid in new places. But again, you learn to adapt, I guess. So, it can be looked on as bad. Oh my God, woe is me. I didn't have a stable or whatever, or long time, lifelong friends. But in the end, it gave me so many skills as well. So that's kind of how I got, I guess, mind-wise, thought-wise, perspective-wise, where I am is, I was kind of always, I don't know, felt like I was a bit on the outside, like an observer of what was going on rather than in the flow, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, that's right. So a lot of people who grew up moving to 10 schools or so, 7 schools, they would see themselves as a victim to have that unstable childhood. But you've obviously very clearly here stated that you chose to see it as an advantage. I'm interested to get into this mindset of yours, how you to help men who are maybe going through something similar, how to consciously choose one over the other. Like you
Yeah,
be the victim.
I'm very
Sorry, go on.
mm, yeah, no, you're good. I mean, everything we do, every choice we make leads us somewhere, right? It has a, when we do something, we get something. So I try to think, I guess, right? Before I go into things and make decisions. It's like, where is this going to take me? Where's this going to lead me? Is this going to make me more of who I want to be or less, kind of thing? So a big part of that was like quietening the mind. Like I spent a lot of time meditating for like, hours a day. And when you do it, you hit a point where your mind just quietens and the little voice goes away. And then what happens is you get I call it like the gap. You have a gap. So you can get information in and then you can stop and think about it and make a decision and then go where most people, they react. Something happens and they act on it. And the reason they do that is all these thoughts. I'm very big on not judging, right? We get taught, in the Bible it says don't judge, right? Now, you should judge people. People are good or bad for you. If people are bad for you, judge them as that and don't hang out with them. But as far as circumstance and all this kind of stuff, I don't think we should be judging that, So I forgot where I was going here. But basically, excuse me, what was I saying? Might have to edit this. What was I saying?
About judging.
Oh yeah, the spark gap. So yeah, yeah, the gap. So yeah, when you can get that gap, you can then make a decision of where you're going to go, where you're going to act. So the big thing is to quieten your mind and learn who you are, because so many people, and this is what society is, right? It's, you got to wake up early, you got to go to a job, you got to have lunch, you got to get the kids ready, you've got to pay the bills, you got to do this, blah, blah, and then go to sleep and do it all again. And you don't have time to think. So this is a big time. We've got to get that gap where we can think, and that way we're acting and we're not reacting, because you can't act like a man if you're not acting, if you're only reacting, right? What I was going to say is charging. Every thought we have, we get told not to judge. And as far as thoughts, if we judge a thought, we judge it as good or bad, which is positive or negative. Now they're charges, right? A positive charge, a negative charge, as in, electrical charge, whatever way you want to put it. So what happens if we have a thought and we charge that as bad, as a negative, we literally put it in charge. We put it in charge of us. So when we go back and we're in that same situation again, and we're confronted with those, that same situation, we will react the exact same way, because that we've put that thought in charge of us. So a big thing for me is, don't judge all these situations. Don't sit, things don't have to be good or bad. Things can just be interesting. And we don't actually need answers. Everyone thinks that everything's got to have an answer now. If there's a question, there must be an answer right now. No, that's not true. Questions are much better than answers. And sometimes you need to ask 100 questions to get one answer. So yeah, that's a little bit of perspective of how my brain works.
Oh, I love this. This is great. Let's get into meditation. So you said it was a big part of your journey, and a lot of the men I've spoken to on this series have also said, to find that, as you said, that gap, that time to actually think. And I know also, excuse me, it was also on my own journey. So can you please talk to men who have never meditated and have a hard time meditating or quietening their mind, can you give them any tips, or or maybe just whatever needs to be said around meditation?
Yeah, I mean, I would throw most of the rules out. I mean, meditation is really just spending time with yourself and starting to quieten your mind. It's not going to happen, overnight. You're not going to sit there and suddenly have this Zen moment, because you spent what 20, 30, 40 years in this habit of your mind going blah. So that's the first thing, is don't expect things to happen immediately, and don't sort of put yourself down and say, oh, this isn't working, oh my god, oh my god. The thing is, I would just do it daily. This is like, definitely you need to do it at least daily. You need to do it consistently, because you're retraining your brain. You're retraining it to not think. And so that's all you need to do. You sit there, and when all the chatter starts to come and it's blah, 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 just, don't try and fight it. Don't push away. Just go, thank you. Come back later. I'm being quiet now. And you're just sort of training your mind that, this isn't the time for the chatter to come in. And I would also say that, some guided meditations can be good when you're starting, I think. Just start with 10, 15 minutes and then build up. And then I would think, once you sort of start to get that gap and that the quiet mind, solfeggio frequencies are really, really good to help sort of attune you into frequencies. But yeah, just start slowly. Start with 10 minutes a day and build up from there. And don't expect your world to change overnight. I think that's the biggest thing, is people are like, I'm going to meditate. Yes. And they do it for a week or a month or whatever, and nothing really happens. And they're like, oh, this is all crap. It took me, months, like probably 6 months before it sort of went. I mean, you do see improvements, but it's a long-term thing. And this is the thing. It's like, are you doing this? Why are you doing it? Are you actually doing it because you want to change? Because if that's why you're doing it, then you don't stop until you've changed. That's just it, right? If you're going to stop in a week, well, you're not really serious about changing. You just, it's just whatever. So, get real. Get real with yourself. If you're not real, just don't do it, because you're wasting your time. Do something else. But yeah. So
Yeah.
does that make sense?
Yeah, great tips. Do you still meditate? Like, is it a ongoing journey, or for you, is it something that once you could find that peace of mind and that gap through meditation, it's something that you can now just incorporate into day-to-day life without actually sitting still and calling it through meditation?
Yeah, very much. So I don't sit down and meditate every day anymore. If I'm, if I feel like I need to take some quiet time, I will, but it's only a couple of minutes. But this is the thing, once you retrain your mind to work like that, you can go there. You've got access to this, superpower, right? That's what it is. You can just go there, and you have this space that you can create in, and you can do stuff in. It's a real thing. Like, you really do notice it when your mind just sort of goes, you're like, where's the chatter? Wow. And you get to do stuff, and it's a lot less stressful, I guess, to have a quiet mind. When your mind's chomping at you all the time, it's always, you need to do this, what about this, what do I think of? And it's all this stuff that really, it has no bearing on your life at all. So just clear the mind, and also when you do that, you'll start getting what I like to call independent thought, right? You'll start getting your own thoughts coming in, because that's what all this stress also blocks, is we don't connect. And so we don't see the signs. We don't go, wow, okay, we don't pay attention to what we should be, because we're on the merry-go-round, right? So yeah, it definitely changes your mind as a long term.
That's great. When you were in meditation and you said, you were stilling the mind, did you bring the heart into it consciously? What's the connection between the mind and the heart when you're in that place of stillness?
I'm big on energy, so I normally create fields around me when I meditate, and that's always emanating from the heart. So that's one thing I do, which is I guess surrounding yourself in love and all this kind of thing. But the heart's definitely, I definitely always tune in to the heart. The heart's the second brain, right? Literally. It's the second biggest nerve bundle in the body. It's connected straight to the brain. It's connected to the gut, which is the third biggest brain. And these are all energy points and you know, vortexes, if you want to call them that. So yeah, I definitely and this is obviously something that, you know, as men, we're not supposed to, you know, delve into these subjects of love and the heart and all this kind of stuff. It's, you know, it's not very manly, right? But you know, that's what we've been taught. But clearly, you know, the best men and are the ones with the big hearts. This is all we ever hear, right? You know, a man with no heart's no good to anyone. Like he's, you know, what's that, right? So yeah, I definitely connect into the heart. It's you know, it's the center, right? It's the center. It's the middle chakra. It's the center of the being. It's literally the power source. It's the electromagnetic field from the heart is the biggest that we emanate. So it's definitely a big part of it. Yeah.
Oh, this is great. Love it. Um, Campbell, can you please talk to men who are having a difficult time feeling their heart or are maybe cautious about opening their heart because there's so much pain still stored in there?
Mm.
How can they start
Yeah, breathing
healing?
technique is good. I mean, definitely meditate, but I find, you know, breathing techniques are good. You know, they actually you can get stuff out, you know, like literally blocks and things. And movement, because all this stuff is literally, it's blocks, right? It's energy blocks. It's like when you're at school and you put your hand up and you thought you were the smartest kid and you had the best answer, and the teacher goes, "You idiot, shut up," and you're like, you know, that puts a block in you. And we can't get blocks out by sitting in the lotus position on a cushion, right? We need to actually physically get out there and work them out. So exercise is a big thing, and we hear about it a lot, but just, and that's also a good time to get into a meditative, you know, state. Have whatever solfeggio tunes playing, have a podcast playing, but when you work out, your mind focuses as well, right? So you don't have all this stuff running around in your head. So I would say exercise is a big thing. Even if it's just getting up and walking for 10 minutes every day, looking around, getting out into a new environment. You know, for things to change, things have to change. You know, when they say a holiday, change is as good as a holiday, or a holiday is as good as a change, or whatever it is. So just change the environment. And this is the thing. And you know, when you move, you get different thoughts. When you're sitting still, everything seems, you know, tends to just get stuck, and you just repeat thoughts and repeat thoughts. But if you get up and just do something and move, you'll find that you'll feel better. All that'll. So yeah, I think movement and breathing, and of course meditation, and just being real. You got to be real. You know, this is the biggest thing. Is, you know, we've all done dumb stuff. We've all made bad decisions. We've all had bad stuff happen to us. But it's just life. You know, thinking it's our fault or feeling shamed or whatever isn't helping anyone, and it's not. It's most of the time it's not true, right? So I think that's the other thing. We just got to realize that, you know, we're just in this melting pot. We're doing the best we can, and if we've stuffed up and done bad things, well, that's great, because now we can learn, right? Because there's no mistakes, there's only mistakes, right? Just like in a movie, right? Take two, you got it wrong the first time, so do it again and do it better. And that's what life is. It's learning. They're obstacles and challenges, they're not problems. So yeah, move and yeah, just yeah, I think with movement you'll see different things out there, but you'll get different perspectives as well.
Yeah, so
Turn
good.
the telly off.
Yes. All right. Well, let's get into your adult life. What would you say was your rock bottom moment? What was happening?
Rock bottom. Um, oh gosh. Um, that's an interesting question. I don't seem to look. I don't really look at things as bad or rock bottom. I always tend to look at the lesson, I guess, is how I've trained myself. I mean, the last couple of years have been interesting. I've had a lot of upheaval and a lot of change. I've had relationships break up, a lot of movement in where I am, all this kind of stuff. But at the same time, I've got this channel that's growing. I've got podcasts that are growing. I've been doing live events. It's a big thing I'm into is, like I mentioned it before, is this not judging things. And my philosophy is we don't have to take this stuff on in the first place. Like we can literally nip it in the bud, right? We don't have, like when something bad happens, if you sit down, you're like, it's so bad, and you're putting that inside you, and then it becomes part of you. But we can actually look at it and go, oh well, it's just a happening, right? This happened, blah blah blah. What's the lesson? And try and move forward without judging it. That's interesting. What can I take from this? And I think judging things, as I was talking about before, putting these thoughts in charge of us. If we judge things as bad, they are literally in charge of us. Every time you get back to that situation, it takes over, and you're no longer speaking or acting. You're reacting on this thought that it could be 30 years old. We don't know, right? So obviously, as kids, we don't have this knowledge, and so we've all taken stuff on, which we need to work through. But my biggest thing, I really don't. The last thing I ever want to be is a victim. One of my, I say poor little me syndrome. A lot, like it's the worst thing in the world, right? Poor little me syndrome. Like, where's that going to take you? What's that going to? Is it even true? I mean, everyone's poor. And this is the thing, like, you can be poor little me, oh, poor little me, but seriously, there is always more than 1 million people on this world that have it so much worse than you. Like, they have it worse to the points that you could never imagine. And we get people sitting down in a house, on a couch, with heating and air conditioning, with a $1,200 phone in their hand, crying that they're such a victim. Now, we become what we think we are. If you want to be a victim, it's your choice, but that's what you'll become. So this is kind of my whole thing is it's how you live and how you see life. I think it's much better to live better than to keep making mistakes and then go back and try and fix them. I mean, that's kind of counterintuitive, right? So to me, a big part is just get real. Don't judge situations. Be man enough to just go, well, this is just a thing, right? It's just an event that's happening, and I can view it as good or bad or just as indifferent, and whatever perspective I give it is what's going to be in charge. So yeah, I don't know if I answered your question. I mean, I've definitely, had challenges, and tragedy and all that kind of stuff, but I don't know. I've just got this thing in. I'm just not interested in being a victim.
No, and I totally get this. And I've always said, that's the biggest hurdle for anyone on their healing journey, to get over this victim status. And I definitely wasn't intending for you to see yourself like that. Let me rephrase the question. What was your greatest lesson in life? What circumstance, situation was happening that gave you a springboard for you to spiral up and be the man you are today?
I just it's an interesting question. I mean, I haven't had, obviously we all have lots of events in our lives, but my life just seems to be these constant events, but nothing like I was doing, like I did my first, what do you call my self-help course when I was like 14. And I was working on them by the time I was kind of 18. We were running week-long courses for kids in my 20s. So I was always into this, and I always was about making change, because I could see that where we were was wrong. I could see, all the problems and with civilization, all the slavery, all this kind of stuff. So I've just kind of been working constantly towards, I've always wanted to, it's always had these thoughts that, I'm going to end up speaking on stage, I want to write books, I want to do this stuff. I just never really you know, because I had kids, you know, I've got grown kids now. I was married, I had a job, I had businesses I ran. So I was in that circle, right? And it's hard to get out and do things when you're in that, when you're paying bills and all this kind of stuff, right? It's hard to sort of make time, but you need to do that. And so I was conscious of always making time to research and to do things and to keep working. And, you know, if I wasn't jumping forward, at least I was moving forward. And like I said, things just seem to just fall in my, I don't know. I was, you know, I was into research and I decided one day to make a video on this stuff, what I found. And it just took off. And I was like, what? I didn't even really know how to make videos. I didn't know much about YouTube. I didn't know how to edit. I didn't know anything. But everyone just started going, my God, do more. And so I just made another one. And it just kind of happened. And now I find myself here 3 years later going, how did this happen? You know, all these, I do a couple of podcasts and people just kind of contact me and I don't even know how they start. I literally don't even know how I started my podcast with Kelly. It's like we talk about it. Like, how did this happen? And I think it's an intention. It's an intention. What do you want to do with your life? And I've always had this intention that, you know, I've never wanted to be a job. I've never thought I want to be an engineer or I want to be a this, or literally I've just thought I just want to change this place because it's crazy. And that's literally been my sole intention for my whole life. So I think that plays a big part. Is my energy is directed and it's focused and it's kind of always been in the same direction, where with a lot of people, they get pushed and pulled. You should do this, you should do this, you should do this, listen to me. No, you're not good enough for that, blah, blah, blah. And so that they're not very, you know, directed in their energy. So what they get back is sporadic, right? Like they get these random kind of things where I think because I'm on a direct, you know, I'm sort of know where I'm going, or at least what I want to do, that I'm getting that reflected back at me. So I do get, you know, even if I don't know how I'm going to get my message out, you know, things just happen and suddenly I'm on a podcast and doing live events going, what? How did this happen?
Hello.
So yeah, it's yeah,
Yeah, no, that's
yeah,
great.
I don't think I'm normal, but
Well, we don't want normal, do we? Can you please,
no, we
there's
don't want
a lot of
normal.
men
Yeah.
going through that change at the moment where because they are raising their awareness and consciousness, their old structured world of maybe corporate life, you know, job, family, and everything is starting to crumble. And obviously, that is a unsettling place to be. What can you say to those men? You know, to share a bit of insight into what's happening and maybe give them a bit of hope with what's to come.
Um, I'd say it's a lot more important who you are and instead of what you have. And the way to teach is by example. So as far as families and children, you know, obviously, you know, men are supposed to be the providers and all this kind of stuff, but you know, what's the outcome? What's the long range view of heading back into the system? Because this is where we are at the moment, right? We have a choice. Do we want to head back into the system? Do we want to go back to 2019 and that existence? Or do we want to do something different and go forward? And that can be scary, especially if you've got bills and you've got young ones. My boys are both adults now, so you know it's not. I don't have that kind of pressure. Excuse me. But I would say, what are you building? What's the long-term goal, and what do you want to teach your children long-term? You know, like I was thinking about the other day. It's like if your child, you know, came to you and said, "Look, I want to build a birdhouse." Would you go out and say, sit down and watch me and then build the birdhouse for them and hand it to them? Of course you wouldn't, because what's the kid learn? Nothing. You would get down, you would show it. This is the nail hammer. This is how you do it. This is how you build it. Now you know how to build a birdhouse. Life is the same. When we're at work at corporate jobs all day, what are we teaching our children? Well, one, that the job's more important than them probably because they don't get the relevance. But also what is this what life is? you can grow up and replicate this and go and sit in an office for 40 hours. Or, I mean, imagine you could go out and you could get some land, you could start a business. You know, imagine how inspiring and what you could teach your kids just through them watching you if you went out and started a business, right? They would see, and they would see the hardship. That's part of it, right? I think a big thing is, you know, we've got to teach our kids that everything's perfect. It's all wonderful and fluffy and there's no problems in the world. And, you know, this whole thing of parents trying to live their kids' lives, right? Make sure there's no problem doing things for them. That's created a generation which we are now seeing, right? The TikTok generation who can't cook meals for themselves. So this I think, you know, kids need to learn. They need to go through hardship. They need to, you know, understand that life isn't just all easy. We need to put in something to get it back. So I would say, you know, what is it you want to do? What is it you've always wanted to? You've got a passion. Whoever you are watching this now, I know there's something inside you and you know what it is right now. You've gone, oh, okay, whatever it is, right? Music, building, you know, maybe you want to start, I don't know, a quiche shop, who knows? Whatever it is, just start it. And that doesn't mean quit your job, sell your house and run off and go, this is the answer. Just start doing something, start researching, start your business in the part-time, start moving towards what you want, and show your kids that it can be done, because that's so much more powerful. You know, it's much more powerful to show your kids that you can build and create something than it is to leave them, you know, $1 million when you die.
Yeah, so good. How old are your boys now, Cambell?
My boys are 19 and 25.
Okay, so let's look at boys growing up, because I've got two boys very similar in age. What's the biggest struggle that our young men are going through today?
I mean, I would say it's social media, right? It's all this stuff that they're being hit with. It's all frivolous. It doesn't mean much. It's not education. There's no lesson in it. There's no responsibility in it. And basically, in the wider thing, I mean, demasculation, right? It's no longer good to be a man in. And when I say that, that's in the view of, you know, the propaganda mainstream. I don't think that's in the view of most women. I think most women actually want a man, right? But we're being pushed all this stuff, and it's in our schools, it's in everything, and they are, and also, you know, the dumbing down, right? Like a man used to be able to go out 100 years ago and he could build a house, feed himself and his family, and get basically, you know, everything they needed. Kids today, send a kid out in the bush for a week with you know, with no food and see what happens. And so they want that, because the less we can do for ourselves, the more we have to rely on the system, right? They want everyone to be monocultured. They want you to be a plumber, and all you know is plumbing. So if you need anything electrical, you've got to ring someone up and pay them, and they come and fix that. And this is the dumbing down. So the main thing against men is literally, and I think it's all just propaganda. I don't really think this is how the majority of people and women see it, but this is definitely the agenda. Is, you know, I mean, look at Homer Simpson, right? I look at TV a lot, and we used to have, you know, in the 70s, we had, you know, family sitcoms and things. And in the 80s, we had like The Growing Pains and Family Ties, and they were family situations with dad and mum in the house and kids. Get into the 90s, we get things like Seinfeld. What? Where'd the kids go? There's no family left. Then we get Friends, young people, no kids. Hang on. And obviously Homer Simpson, right? Then we get the stupid dad who's come into all these shows, right? The dumb dad. And this is what they're trying to put across, that, you know, dads that you'll see is idiots who, you know, they go away and bring home money for 8 hours a day. Then they sit on the couch and drink beer and say stupid shit, right? So the best defense we've got is to not be that. It's to be the exact opposite. Like, it's, as I've said before, if we've got to show by example what a man is, we've got to show our children what a man is. And there's, you know, I know there's a lot of women around that are single, you know, have boys, and, you know, for whatever reason, are raising them as a single mother. My advice here is just get just have good men around. It doesn't have to be the dad. It could be the grandfather, right? Or the uncle or a good friend, but they need an example. You know, a boy cannot become a man if his only example is a woman. I'm sorry, you know, that's just the truth. So in that situation, that's advice for any single women. You just get a good man around. It doesn't have to be, you know, a partner or anything, just a friend or a family member, but give them a role model. And I think this is a big, you know, we just, as men, we just need to stand up, right? We need to call this crap out for what it is, and just do better. Ignore it all. It's all propaganda.
Yeah, totally
Men
agree.
are
I
good.
used to always request male teachers for my boys, you know, so that, you know, they would have, you know, male role models around them. Um, let's look at what a healthy man is then in your eyes, that, you know, the agenda is trying to destroy and emasculate. So what would your 3 highest values as a man be?
Oh, 3 highest values. I think integrity would be the top one. You have to do what you say and walk the walk and all that kind of stuff. I think is hard work a value. I mean, I think, you know, the act of knowing that you need to get out there and do something if you want to create something. If you want something, you've got to get out there and do it. You've got to put the work ethic in. And that's the only way it happens. And I guess the third would be empathy or love. You know, everything. You know, a non-loving man's no good to anyone, right? You know, you need to be able to do this work, you know, to be a man, but you need to also have a kind heart. You know, you need to be good. You know, because if you don't have that, then what you're doing, the first 2 values don't mean anything, right? Because you're out there doing the wrong thing. So if it doesn't come from the right place, then what's the point? So yeah, I'd say definitely, and maybe I should reverse that, right? Maybe it should be the heart first, because that's really, you know, that's our ethics, I guess, right? Our values. That's where everything sort of starts from. Is, are you doing this? Why are you doing it? Is this just to benefit you? Is it for money, or are you just trying to make the place better? You're just trying to help people. And then integrity and action. And then you build things, right? Then with those 3 things, things get done, I think. And then you can stand back and go, look, I did that. Cool.
Yeah, that's great. How did you like pass on these values to your boys? Like, what tips have you got for parents to, you know, like really get our young men to connect to their hearts and live a life of integrity and action?
Let them know that what they're interested in has value, and that is it's such a big thing. You know, everyone is born with skills, loves, talents, passions, you know, things that we're good at and we like to do. But so often, you know, kids go to school and they're told, literally, they have it beaten out of them. No, you can't be an artist. You're going to be an accountant, right? That's just the worst thing in the world you can ever do to a child, because you're basically saying to them, everything that you value doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything. So what does that mean of the child, right? It means they're pretty much valueless. So find out what they want and just encourage that. That's all I did. I'm lucky. Both my boys are musicians and artists, and that was it. You know, with my eldest, we went through a few things first. He was sort of went through dinosaurs and a few other bits, and then found music. But basically, everything that he was interested in, we would just, you know, do our best to give him what he needed to explore that. You know, give him the time and just support him in that. And it wouldn't. We never ever said anything like, "Oh my God, music! No, go and learn math." You know, it was just support them in who they are and who they want to become. And I think that's and give them good, you know, role models, right? Be the best role model you can. But I think that's the biggest thing, is just let them be who they are. You know, we're not here as parents to shape and mold our children. We're here to protect them as they grow into who they're supposed to be. So yeah, that would be mine.
Yeah, I love that. What do you think that it is that women misunderstand the most about men?
Ah, well, I think one thing is, we all give and receive love differently, or we all show or receive love differently. Some people will make grand gestures, some people will do it through touching or talking. And so there's a bit of a disjunct there. I think that women and men expect something to say, okay, that's love, when it could be shown in a different way. And so they're like, oh, well, they don't love me because I was expecting flowers and all they said is I have beautiful eyes. God, and literally this is it, right? They want something given to them, but they're not after the words. And so that's a big thing. So which comes down to communication, I guess. With partnerships and all this, I think, and especially now, you've got to have common values and common goals, or else you don't have a foundation. So I think men are frustrated, right? And women don't have the same experience as men. They just don't. Men do get treated worse than women. Men are the ones that are in the crappy jobs and that are disrespected. Even in family situations, you see it a lot. The guys go and work themselves to death just trying to do the right thing and provide for their family, and they get home and everyone disrespects them. But they think they're doing the right thing, and then at home everyone's like, well, he's never at home, and when he gets here he's either grumpy or tired. So it's this whole thing that we just need to sort of understand that we're all in this together, and we're not each other's enemy, right? The enemy is not us. And I think if we just understand that everyone goes through life, everyone has challenges, everyone has things that they're trying to do and things that they have to deal with, then it would be a much better place, right? This again, right? It comes back to judging. Like, if dad gets home and he's all pissed off and they have a conversation, he's like, oh, well, my boss did this and rah, and you talk it out. Well, then that's no longer an issue, right? It's this whole yelling and fighting and people facades, right? People pretending to be someone that they don't want to open themselves up and expose themselves and say, well, my boss hurt my feelings because he said this. As a man, they don't want to say that. And so if you don't say that, well, it stays inside you and it grows. And so I think, communication, and it's just understanding, isn't it? That we've all had, these experiences that we don't like. No one wants to go to work for 40 years. No one wants to get up at 7 o'clock every day, 5 days, come on. But we're in this situation where most of us have had to do that, at least for part of our lives. So, if we understand that everyone's dealing with the same frustration, but it's the system that's putting all this on us, not your partner, not your kids. It's the system let's be truthful. We have let it get to this. We have. We dropped, we dropped our guard down, and they got in and took over the schools. They brought out all this social media crap. And we were busy working. So, we're here, right? And again, there's no blame game, but we're here. So now we just need to do the best we can to change it. So, yeah, communication, understanding, all that kind of stuff, I think is just to try and see life from someone else's perspective, which is something that not enough people try and do, I don't think. We'll always look at it from, our perspective, but if you can see it from someone else's perspective, you'll have a completely different perspective.
Yes, so true. This is great. Communication, of course, is vital in healthy relationships. So, what tips have you got for men who have maybe been relatively closed and not learned good communication skills? Where can they start?
Where can you start? Again, it's all in the work, but I mean, what's the worst that can happen? I mean, if you're yourself, what's the worst that can happen? I would say just get out there, get out there and do new things. If you're having, if there's a communication problem with your kids, take them somewhere where you can talk about stuff. Take them to an aquarium, take them to the zoo, where there's conversations waiting, you know, and you don't have to sit there, you know, uncomfortably trying to start a conversation, right? Get out there and do things that you can both be involved in. And that way the conversations just come, right? And, you know, if you start this with, you know, friends and family and people, you know, you over time, you'll just become more talkative, and then it will be easier in social situations. You know, myself, you know, people are strange, right? So I'm not a social butterfly type. Even for some reason, you put a camera in front of me, you can't shut me up. I don't know what that is, but yeah, I'm definitely not a you know, what's the word, a sanguine person. But I have, but you know, I'll talk. I'm also not afraid to talk to anyone. You know, I did an event last year. We had 500 people there. Did an 8-hour show on stage. So, but that's just because, you know, I'm not an extrovert. So you don't have to be an extrovert, I guess is what I'm trying to say. You don't have to be the life of the party. You don't have to turn into Jim Carrey, right? You just have to be yourself, but be, you know, stand up, you know, be comfortable in your own skin, be comfortable talking to people, you know. So if someone comes up and talks to you, that you're not like, oh my God, just talk to people. So that's where we want to get to it. It's not, you don't need to get to be the life of the party, right? If that's not you, that's not you, that's someone else. So yeah, get it out in situations where it's easy to talk, where the conversations are waiting for you, and start from there. And just, yeah, understand it's only about becoming you. It's not about becoming someone that you think you should be or someone tells you should be. It's just discovering who you are.
Yeah, great advice there. I'm interested with your knowledge, wisdom, and awareness around energetics. Your understanding of the masculine and feminine energies within a man.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. So we all have both, obviously, masculine, feminine energies, which are different aspects of ourselves. And I guess, you know, the goal here is to combine them, right? To become the best parts of both aspects of ourselves. And of course, you know, female aspect doesn't mean feminine necessarily. It doesn't mean, you know, we're not saying go out and buy high heels or anything like this, but it's getting in touch with your softer side, right? Your emotional side, being able to communicate. I mean, the way I see it is a masculine energy is a more, I guess, harder energy. It's more physical. It's more doing things. You know, so the the masculine is more, let's build a house. This is how you do it. Blah blah blah. Let's do it. It's done. Where a woman and female energy is more the soft place to land. So the way I look at it is, you know, it's like if you're raising a child and they want to, you know, learn something, the dad goes out and shows them, rah, 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 and then if they do the wrong thing, they get in trouble or whatever, and then they go to mum, and mum's the soft place, right, who calms and makes everything okay. And, you know, if we can, so if we're not balanced, then clearly, you know, this is where we get the dads who, you know, you see hear all the stories. They try to teach their son something, it doesn't go well, and they just start losing it and screaming and rah, because they haven't got that soft aspect. They can't go, oh, this is a child who didn't, you know, interpret what I said properly. That they're missing that because they're so manly. But you know, you can be so manly that you know, no good to anyone, and you can also be too feminine. You know, a feminine man who can only be the soft place to fall. You know, how's he going to defend your house when someone's trying to kick your door in? So it's this balance thing. So I think obviously as men, we need to be, you know, the masculine needs to be at least 51%. So it's that, but it's then also understanding that, you know, people are people, right? And there needs to be a soft space, and we can't always be this hard, you do it, because that really doesn't achieve anything. And that's, you know, we've kind of been taught that that's a man, right? That's a dad, like just be this distant figure who yells at people, and don't do that. You know, talk to your kids. If you want your kids to learn something, they're not going to learn by you yelling at them and telling them they did it wrong. They're going to learn by you, you know, connecting with your feminine side at that point and having understanding. And that's where it comes in, is being able to access both of those, you know, polarities, shall we say.
Yeah, so good. Campbell, we've got about half an hour left. What else needs to be brought into this conversation from your experience, awareness, healing journey around men, masculinity? What else can you offer from your energy?
Energy. All right. Well, I would say, we've spent 2.5, 3 years sitting down, not doing a lot, right, with what's going on. People have been getting all this information in, all this learning, but not much has been done. So I think at the moment for men, it's time to do something, right? To get out and to build new things. We need to build. We need parallel systems. We need good leaders. We need real men. We've lost all this, right? Look, we're now led by the weakest and the least among us. So we need to change that. And these are all jobs that are for men. They just are. This is what men build, right? This is what masculine energy is showing the way, leading, building, trying things, and getting out there and doing it, and making a safe and good place for everyone else to inhabit, right? So I would say whatever it is you want to do, get out and do it. That's definitely what I'm doing this year. And like I said, we've been sitting around way too long, right? 3 years. We've now got all the information we need. You don't need any more information. You don't. Just get out and start doing stuff. We've got all the answers. So whatever it is you want to do, the answer's already there, right? You just got to find it. But definitely start building stuff. And this is the thing is, if you're feeling lost, and people have lost jobs, businesses, houses, everything, right? Building something and doing something, and then when you finish, that's one of the best feelings that as a man you can get. When you look and you've created something, you're like, I did that. So go and create something. Do it with your kids. Take your kids with you, whatever it is. But I really think that's the biggest thing for men at the moment, is because it's everything, right? It's physical. They're getting out there and they're being physical. They're creating something. They're using their mind, how this way they're trying to build something that's going to benefit other people. They can teach by example, and then they can stand back and go, I achieved that. So to me, get out, and this doesn't have to be a village. Maybe you need a chook run. Maybe you need whatever, a barbecue. I don't know. But whatever it is, just get out and start doing stuff. And this doesn't mean, again, you don't have to quit your job or anything. It just could be a half an hour after work. Instead of sitting down in front of the telly with a beer, go out and do something. And at the end of the week, you'll be able to sit back and go, wow, and it'll make you feel good. And then the next week, it'll be a lot easier to get out and do stuff. Because we don't get satisfaction from working a 40-hour job. We don't. Even when your paycheck comes in, you go, oh my God, so satisfying. I can't wait to get back to work next week. No, you don't. You go, this won't even cover the bloody bills. So get out there and create. Do something different, right? We've got to create the world we want to live in. So, yes.
Yeah, that's great. What does freedom mean to you, and also freedom as a masculine energy?
Freedom's choice. I don't believe that anyone has the right to tell anyone else how to live their lives, what to do. As long as you do no harm and cause no loss or injury, then you can do whatever you want. And of course, this is the problem we find ourselves in, is we have these people around us who all they want to do is tell you that you can't do stuff. And then they want to charge you money and throw you in cages if you dare to go against their beliefs. And that's all it is. They're just people. They were just born, just like you and me. They're just people, maybe born into, more nefarious families than us. But, then why do we listen to these people? Like, we know we're getting nothing. We know they're taking half our money. We get nothing from it. We know what kind of morals they have and what they get up to. So to me, freedom is, it's not just doing what you want, but it's understanding you have the right to do what you want. So it means if you want to have chooks and your council says you can't have chooks, well, you just do it anyway, right? And then when they come around, you tell them to prove that that they rule you and that they're God and that they own you. You know, this is the thing. Most of the time, people will go, I want some chooks. And they'll ring up the council and the council go, you can't have chooks. And they go, okay. And what? If everyone went, no council, we want chooks, guess what? You're all sacked. Stop stealing our money, bugger off. Let's get someone who's actually a human in there. Then things would change. So we've got to stop putting up with these bureaucrats who are just, like I said, they're the smallest and the least amongst us. Their joy of life is telling someone else what to do. I mean, how pathetic. That's what these people are. So we just need to understand that they don't have the right to tell us what to do. We have the right to live here. Okay, we were born here. We don't have to pay to live here. We can do what we want as long as we're not causing any harm. And we need to live that. And the more people that live that, the faster things will change.
And for our international audience, you better tell them what a chook is.
Oh, a chook. A chook is a chicken. That's a bit of Aussie lingo there for you.
Okay, so is freedom sovereignty?
Is freedom sovereignty? I mean, sovereignty is freedom. Sovereignty is freedom of mind, isn't it? Like understanding that you're sovereign is I guess, freeing your mind. But you know, we are in a realm that's controlled at the moment, right? So to say that you can be totally free just because you understand you're sovereign is probably not correct. I would say it's definitely the right. I would say that you can't have freedom without being sovereign. Sovereignty is the first step. You need to understand that you're sovereign, that you're under the law of the land, and you know, you're a creation of the Creator. You have as much right as anyone else to be here. You don't have to pay. And from that point of view, we can then dismantle these systems that restrict our freedom. So I would say that that's the first move. Ultimately, you know, in a perfect world, you know, without a system, yeah, it would. But coming from where we're coming from, we need to, you know, not dismantle the system. You know, it's like Buckminster Fuller said, we don't need to dismantle it. We just need to ignore it and go and build something better, and it will just fade away and kill itself. So yeah, I would say, yeah, you need to be sovereign first, and then sovereignty in action, I would say, is freedom.
Do you, so I'm interested in your energetics again. So if there's something that a man wants to fight against, is that his best option? Or, as you said, go away and build a better system? So there's a lot of men at the moment that are in this fighting against what they don't want and maybe not creating what they do want. Can you expand into this conversation, please?
Yeah. What you focus on grows, is it in a nutshell. So basically, yeah, if you're focusing on the problem, you're feeding it energy, you're making it bigger. And we see this a lot is, you know, especially, you know, as men, we're taught to fight and you have to fight things and blah, blah, blah. But that's not true. It's not. The answer is to build a solution, build something better, build something that will fix the problem. And then you don't have the problem. And people are smart enough that they will realize that. So instead of trying to, you know, whatever it may be, right? Go and yell and scream at all these, you know, pharma companies. Gotta be careful what I say. You could go and train yourself in holistic medicine and give people options. And this is the thing. And if everyone did that, guess what? Like, no one would be going to the farmers anymore. And so that's, yeah, I definitely believe that you need to go and build solutions instead, and the bad stuff will just crumble. And it's like I said at the start, whatever we focus on grows. You know, what's that saying? Where attention goes, energy flows.
Yes. Yes, so good. Um, let's get into then men that are sort of starting to come into this awareness of the power of their thoughts and where they direct their energy. And I know that you said, you know, you've studied this for a long time and you've spoken on it and given workshops. So what can you say to help men come into a more expansive awareness of the power that's within them?
Yeah. Everything you've been taught is a lie. I mean, just look around. I mean, look at how much effort is put in to making us believe that we're not who we are, or at least into making us believe someone else's version of reality. Like when we're 4 or 5, they send us to school. All right. They tell us that all our imaginary friends don't exist. It's all just stupidness. And we now need to pay attention, and the teacher's right. And everything they tell us from the teacher is right, because if it's not, you get a big red cross and everyone laughs at you, right? You got to stand in the corner as the dumb kid. Humiliation. This is what they do, little kids. Humiliation, right? Then we have the books, the TV, the computers, all this stuff, all this effort. Like it's literally 90% of civilization that we live in is focused on information to try and tell you that you're just a cog in the system. You're just a slave. You can't do anything about it. You're not good enough to change anything. You're not smart enough. Bad luck, right? Just play the game. And if you're lucky, you'll get 10 years at the end of retire, where you can retire, and you won't have the physical body left to enjoy it. So the biggest thing is to recognize that, right? Recognize that what you've been told is a lie. So all these beliefs that you have about yourself that are negative are most probably false. Other beliefs are just opinions from people who didn't know what was going on, and we believe them all as facts. So I think the very first step is to understand that it's all a play, it's all a story, and we get to believe it if we want, and if we believe it and live into it, then we create it. Or we can go, hang on, I think I'm being manipulated here. Look at the school, the education system, really? Okay. And they're all saying the same thing, and you can't say anything. I mean, look at the moment, right? You literally can't even have an opposing point of view. They're trying to tell you something. They're trying to mold you into something. So when you understand it's all a game and it's all false, and that they're the enemy, not your neighbor, then you can start to say, well, okay, who am I? What do I really want? Where do I really want to go? And this is where we need to go. And the main thing is, we need to be adult enough to go, yeah, I fell for it. And some people did it for 50 years, right? This is seriously, some people have worked in a job for 50 years, been annoyed, got unhealthy. But as long as you know now, you can start to change things. And that's the main thing. So, it's not your fault. We all got born into this. Yes, you've made stupid decisions. We all have. But as soon as you know that, you can change that, and you can become better, and you can start building the life that you actually want to live. So, yeah, I would say the first thing is realizing where we are and what's going on here, and that it's all a big scam just to keep us basically under the thumb. And the reason is they know we're the power. We are the power down here. As soon as we decide to change things, they those who wish to control us can't do anything, and they know that. That's why there's so much effort put into keeping ourselves down, because they can't do it. They have to make us do it to ourselves. So don't believe them.
Let's get into this and one of your favorite subjects, because obviously while we've got you here on Heart Warriors, now part of taking our power back as a man or a woman is understanding this big lie that you've introduced now. Now, you talked about it within the school system. Let's take it into history, into the distortion of history. What have they done? Now, we've got about half an hour left, but you can roll as long as you like. What have they done to us, to maybe people that have no awareness? Let's give them an inkling into the power of the narrative, of who writes the books, who publishes the books, who teaches our history, and why have they done it? Go.
All right, little subject. So history is actually his story, not our story. It's his story. It's been written. So we have all these books and all this history, and you can go and talk to a historian, and they'll go, "Oh no, we know everything that happened back to the 1200s or whatever." But when we look into history, it doesn't make sense at all. I mean, there's so much that's gone on. If you haven't heard of Tartaria, check it out. Basically, it was a massive civilization that covered Russia, China, into Europe, into the Americas, and it was wiped. We never got taught about it in school, and literally the CIA went in, and we've got documents of that it was all covered up and everything. And there's a big story of that. But when you look back into history, it's a story of conquest, right? The victors write history. History is written by the victors. So this is why we don't have the right story. What we find is that we're living in a realm that has regular resets, right? This place gets reset. So we don't live in this linear, we didn't start off as cavemen and now we're at the epitome of, mankind. That didn't happen. We've been more advanced than this many times before. And this is what we find. And so what this, those who wish to control us, this is their biggest secret. They don't want us to know that things get reset, right? And that we've been more advanced than this before, because if we knew that, then we'd be like, well, what are we doing? Let's just get back there. So, I mean, it's a massive subject. Basically, we can show that there was a reset back in the 1800s. It looks like it had something to do with, what's going on at the moment. Populations disappeared, and then populations reappeared as orphans. And you can look into the orphan trains. And what it looks like is most of us, especially in Western countries, we all seem to be descended from these orphans, which is why we have this systemic, wound, I guess, right? We were. It's why we have these families that beat children and stuff, because it all started with parents raising orphans, right? Children that weren't theirs. And so history is nothing like you think it is. There's 1,000 years that were wiped out. As far as we can tell, it looks like the Dark Ages never existed. We have all this. We've got star forts, which are these high-tech sort of design forts that are all over the world, everywhere. Never get taught about them in school. So the whole cover-up is really that there was an advanced high-tech civilization functioning all across the world. And it was, they were building all the same kind of structures, all wearing the same kind of fact. They had the same kind of stuff. So it doesn't look like there was any war. We don't find evidence of these people fighting each other and weapons and wars and that. So we had the world that we want. We had it. Something happened, probably, a cataclysm of some kind probably started it. And then those who wish to control us literally stepped in and took over. And so you can change history and knowledge in one generation if you cut that generation. So if you have orphans and they're not being raised, but obviously by their parents, you can then teach them whatever you want. And when we look into history, we see that these orphans were put into these work towns. So companies like Hershey's and Cadbury's and all these literally started as work villages, and that meant it had a factory and houses, and all the orphans would live in the houses and go and work 14 days in the factory and then go and sleep, and then that was their life. Like this is how a lot of these companies started, right? And you can imagine what happens, right? You do that for 10 years, these orphans grow up, get married, have kids. Suddenly they think that's normal. They think, oh, okay, this is what we do. We just grow up and we go and work 10 hours a day, and then they do all these things. Oh no, we're going to bring in child labor laws, yes, no, children can only work 30 hours a week now, and they have to be 5 years, we get all these, which they love to do. They have to come in and say, oh no, we're here to help. And all they do is put more restrictions on us. So basically, yeah, history is his story. It's whatever you've read in the books is not true. It's provably not true. We have pictures of empty cities. All the architecture. The Vatican is exactly the same as the White House. Look at the buildings. That they're pretty much the same building. We have those buildings in Australia. They're in Africa. They're in Asia. But we're told it's Greco-Romano, right? No, it all came from Greece. So this is a big lie. It was definitely one civilization all across the realm that was not built by us. We've found these cities and re-inhabited them, fixed them up. And yeah, it's a massive story. But if you want to know more, check out my channel. I could literally go for a long time. But it gets back to the main fact is their biggest weapon against us is thought, is to make us think different thoughts, right? So they make us think, all this stuff, the magic and, all that kind of angels and everything. Oh, no, it's all fantasy. It doesn't exist. All the fantasy books, no, it's just all stupid. No, your imaginary friend, no, they don't exist. Don't be stupid. No, you can't create stuff. Don't be dumb. Just get a job, right? And if we believe that and we get the job, then they win, right? Same with history. If they make us believe, no, look, you're not from an advanced civilization, you're from a monkey, then we're not going to be out looking to recreate all that tech and that civilization, right? Because we're like, look at us. We're already at the top. We're the epitome. Oh my God, we're so good. So yeah, history is a complete lie. It's all a lie. It's all a story. It's all information, because the people who are, trying to control us, they can't create. They have they can't, they're not creators. They can't create. We're the creators. So the only way they can create is by default. They make us think what they want and we create it for them. And so that's what all this is about. It's why they've changed history, why they've distorted everything. It's just to make you think a different thought.
This is great. And let's bring it back to the present. Well, with the invention of the television, and I know you said before, turn off the television, which, when I did that, I don't know, it'd probably be about 7 or 8 years ago now. Honestly, it just made so much difference. For people who are still watching television and thinking, oh, it's just a television, it's just entertainment, entertainment. Can you speak about
Yep.
the power of television, about the power of the narrative, about the power of what you said, getting where those that want to control our reality can get into our thoughts and get us to create it for them?
Yeah. Television, tell light to your vision.
Yes.
It's full of programs, so they can program you. Okay, so most television, and movies, right, is made in Hollywood. There's a holly tree is the tree that you make magic wands from. You use holly wood to make a magic wand. Okay, Hollywood. Now, what do we have behind the shows and movies in Hollywood? We have a cast of members, right? A cast with their little wands, their little holly wands. Okay, when they want to get it and make you believe it's true, they do a broadcast on the news. These are all spells. This is spelling. And by the way, what's the first thing they teach you when you go to school? Spelling. Just like a witch, right? Spells. This is what it is. But they just tell us, oh, no, it's not, no, it's spelling. Not spells, spelling. And we think it's something different. It's not. So this is it's a mind control device. And if you look into the history of the television, it was actually invented back in the 40s, literally as a way to change people's brainwaves and to put them into a certain state so that they could be hypnotized and basically fed information and programmed. That's literally where the TV came from. And that's still what it's doing. So entertainment, yeah, okay. I mean, there's so many bad things about it, apart from the fact that what you're looking at is it's just confirming that the story they give you is correct, right? Everyone has to, go to work. This is what we do. No, this is just life. But also in that, everyone's happy though, right? Like in all the sitcoms, they're all doing these crappy jobs and that, but it's a sitcom, right? So we get to laugh at it. So it's like that they're making it okay, so we put up with it, Oh yeah, well, oh, his job sucks, but my job sucks too. But ha, it's so funny, isn't it? Ha 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 ha, and all this kind of stuff. And then behind you've got all the electromagnetic, waves going into your head, all the subliminals, just so much stuff. And then on top of that, what are you doing? What are you achieving? You're sitting down, letting someone program you when you could be learning, you could be getting healthy, you could be creating your own thing. So I mean, turning off the TV is massive. It's massive. Like yeah, gosh, I haven't had a TV in I don't know how long. And every now and again I'll see it and I'm just like, oh my gosh, is this still on? Do they still make TV? It's if you stop watching it even for a few months and then you go back and watch something, you'll just be like, what is this? What am I doing? But people, and the thing is, it's, people watch TV because they're bored. I deserve it. Oh, I've been at work all day. I deserve it. But understand, it's literal programming. It's spell casting, right? With what, like literally, this is what they're doing. And who's in all these shows, right? The stars. Do we need to talk about what a star is? You ever heard of the Hollywood Walk of Stars? And then we have this story of fallen angels, right? That maybe came down, and there was 24 of them. And then at the start of, Paramount, the movie company, Paramount, interesting name, right? The highest mountain, Paramount. These stars come down from above and make this nice little circle of 24 stars around it. So are they telling us who they are? Who are these stars? Why do we draw stars like a person, like a 5 point? Has anyone ever looked up in the sky and seen that shape? No. So where does it come from? Right? So what is a star? All these stars, right? Oh yeah, all these stars that are put up in front of us. If you read the Bible, I think they only mention the word star once, and that's pretty much next to Lucifer, isn't it? The star that fell, or how you've fallen. So this is the thing. This is their biggest weapon. It's a propaganda machine. That's all it is. It's a massive propaganda machine. That's the TV, the print media, the movies. It's all spell casting. It just is. It's all in the language. In the language.
Yeah, it's so fascinating when you get into it. And once you start going and lifting the veil, it's just also obvious. It's amazing because at first it's like, oh no, it can't be true. But then you're like, oh my God, there's just too much for it to be anything else. We're going to start wrapping up, Cambell, but I'd really like your perspective on where you think we as humanity originated from, just to give people an inkling into their power. As you said, we weren't cavemen. We weren't, just like apes. What is our true power that we have the potential to tap into?
I believe we're all a creation of the creator. We're all a fractal of the creator. We have that spark inside of us. And we find ourselves in a realm. I believe it was created for us. I know there's the sort of prison planet kind of theory, which is more to do with the Gnostics, and that the demiurge sort of created this place, and it's like a hell, and we're trapped here and that. I see it more that this was created for us, and something's come in, right? Something's come in over the top. And put a program in basically to control us. But we're divine, right? We are divine. We're immortal. We don't die. We are the light. And I think where we are at the moment, that there may well be more than one type of being down here. We have a lot of talk of this split that's coming up, and have some people sort of come in here to maybe, help others, show them the way out kind of thing. Is it a bit of a rescue mission? which, really it does look like that, when you live some of these strange lives and the things that happen. But ultimately, I think that, yeah, we're the ultimate creation. We are a spark of God, a fractal of the creator. And all that's happened here is we've believed the wrong person. We've believed the wrong being, and we've taken on, and like I said, we create this reality. And how physical this reality is another question. It's probably just a simulation, because we know that everything that we think we see things out that they're outside of us, but they're not. Everything that we've ever seen has happened in there. Well, in the mind, wherever the mind is, because the mind as well, it's a receiving station, right? It's everywhere. So we're not that they, again, everything they do is to make us believe something, that we're a physical person. No, we have a physical body, and we're not bodies with a spirit. We're spirits with a body, right? So we're a spirit that's taken on a body so that we can experience the physical world, which, as far as we know, is a great sort of honor, because we're all spirit. Like to experience physicality is apparently something that is fairly rare in whatever this place is. So basically, this place has been taken over, and all it is someone's made us believe that we're not in control, that we're not the creation, and we've lived that into because we're the creators. Clearly, we've lived it into existence. So, I don't know how well I do with that, but yeah, we are, we're the ultimate creation, and the only reason, we're our biggest enemy, but we're also our only solution. We're the only ones that do this to ourselves. It's other people might say stuff, but we can ignore them. We believe it, we take it on, we live it out, and then we get annoyed with the life we're living. And so again, all you need is a different thought, you'll have a different action.
Yeah, this is great. Just, for people to step into their potential and empowerment and, step out of the box that's been drawn for us. Where do you see men and humanity in the future? Let's say, I don't know, wherever you want to go, 3 years, 10 years, 100 years. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I think we're going to move back to much more community-based living, so smaller communities where everyone knows each other, that are sustaining, that don't need to be part of a bigger system. I think the control grid's going to fall, and I think it's going to get back to a much more, traditional, right? Traditional, right? God, now families are traditional, didn't you know? Where there's family and community, because that's what everyone wants. That's really all everyone wants. They just want a happy life with community, with good people around them, where they feel safe, where they can, do what makes them happy, and that's it. I think that's where we're going, is we're just going to be creating communities that can provide everything everyone needs. And like I said, we've got all the answers. We've got permaculture, we've got free energy, we've got all these building, hempcrete and aircrete and all this kind of stuff. So I see that all being implemented, and I see the system at least shrinking. I don't think we're going to completely get rid of it in the next 20 years or so, because if you look around, there seems to be a lot of people that want to run back to 2019. Oh my God, just give me something that seems normal.
Back to normal.
And so they're all going to be living, yeah, right, that's normal. So they're all going to be living in these smart cities. And so that's, I think that's definitely happening. We know what happened, during the lockdowns. They were out there putting cameras up everywhere and doing all this stuff. And so every city is going to turn into a smart city. So I would say get out of the cities. And that's what I see. Yeah, I see these smart cities full of NPCs, and then outside I see, proper communities that are self-sufficient and are out there building it and creating the new world. And as we go forward, I think they'll grow and the cities will lose power, and in 100 or 200 years, we should have a completely different realm. But I think in the next, year, 2, 3, I think we're going to see massive change, massive. And I think I mean, most people, jobs have gone already, right? You know, movies have gone. The banks are about to fail. Look at everything's collapsing. Everything. So that's what we got to do. Get out there and build a new one. So that's time to find your tribe.
So good. Cambell, where can people find you? And I will drop all your links below, but just give people, where they can find more of this juicy information.
All right. My main channel is behind me. It's Autodidactic. There's a backup channel, Auto 2, and a third channel called Spiral Up. Now, Autodidactic's more to do with history, alternative history, and Spiral Up is more to do with mindfulness. I don't really like the term self-help, but our minds and things. I also have a couple of websites. I've got tartariaustralia.com and the other one, which I can't remember, New Agora/Autodidactic, I think, and other social media. So you'll find me around. I've got, I don't know, 600 or 700 videos up there that you'll find. So, and do a regular podcast, and I've got a live event coming up in June. So, I'm out and about.
Oh, where's your live event?
It's going to be in Lismore.
Ah, okay. Northern New South Wales, for anyone
in the northern
doesn't know. That's amazing. Well, what is your final message for men, Cambell?
Just be yourself. Don't, what's the worst that could happen? And you'll probably find out the worst that could happen is probably where you are right now, right? Because you're not happy. So, change is as good as a holiday. Do something different. And don't be worried about it. It's exciting, right? To have new experiences. So I would say, believe in yourself. You've got everything you need. If there's anything you don't know, you can learn it, or you can focus, and the right person will come in and help you. And so just make your plans, put your intention into it, and start. Take action. And you'll be amazed what happens in weeks, months, years. Like, and don't believe the hype. Don't believe any of this crap, and don't fight anything. Don't feel you have to fight stuff. Like, if you see a problem, create a solution. It's much better.
So good. Wow, what an amazing episode. I absolutely loved it. Thank you, Cambell. So much good information.
Thanks for having me.
Levels. Yeah, no, you're welcome.
Oh, thank you.
Everyone, if you could like, share, subscribe, get the word out, and I will be back in another few days with another episode of Heart Warriors. So bye, and stay on if you like.
Thanks, guys. Bye.